joining another Square and Compass live stream today. Primarily, if I can get myself organized here, if I could grab this bag, which is currently stuck. There we go. I got my goodie bag here. As many of you know, if you're following me on social media, was lucky enough to be back in Ottawa this weekend. Ottawa is a city I absolutely love. It's kind of where I grew up in some ways. It was the first place I moved when I left Winnipeg. So I lived in Ottawa for 2 years straight. Then regularly went back there on the weekends, and then I did two really fun and really enjoyable internships in Ottawa, countless weekends, countless special events, countless conferences. I love it. As a city, I think it's incredible, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. And so, getting the chance to be back for the Accessibility Expo and Parasport Expo was really something I loved. I went there because, as many of you know, the great boom period in Masonic membership took place in the 1920s. And then another boom in the 1950s, right? In fact, the year in which Freemasonry in North America, or in America, was at its highest in terms of membership levels was 1959. As a consequence, a lot of our buildings date to the 1920s, date to the 1950s, being built at a time when accessibility standards were not what they are now, when accessibility was not the concern it is today. As a consequence, in the last 20 years, many Masonic buildings, well, I would say even in the last 30 or 40 years, but let's say within the last 20 years, many Masonic buildings have been focusing on making the Masonic experience and the building itself more accessible and adaptable to those of various different abilities. The Accessibility Expo and Fair provided a lot of great information and great opportunities to learn about ways to make things more accessible and for a variety of different abilities, both in terms of older individuals who are mobility impaired, amputees, wheelchair users, those who are blind, those who are deaf or hard of hearing or hard of seeing, emotional supports, cognitive disability supports. And so, if we want to make our buildings adaptable and we want to make them available to a variety of different community members, while at the same time, if we want to make the Masonic experience, I'm talking about the actual lodge meeting experience, more adaptable to those with different abilities or disabilities, we need to be paying attention to things like this. People who are disabled are more likely than those who are not to experience loneliness, isolation, and mental health issues connected to both of those things. Therefore, we within Freemasonry need to be thinking about that when we are creating our events, our celebrations, our meetings, our buildings, and adapting our buildings. Also, we need to understand if you're a Mason, maybe you're young, maybe you're in your 20s, maybe you're in your 30s, early 40s, you might still be young and full of piss and vinegar and raring to go and excited. No trouble walking, no trouble moving, no trouble using stairs, no trouble, opening doors. Once you get into your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, suddenly accessibility might be way more important to you, and might be something you need to actually think about a lot more. We do have an aging membership in Freemasonry. And so anyways, I loved the conference. It was incredible. I posted a lot about it on social media. Thank you, Flixbus, for getting me to and from. It was truly appreciative, or I'm truly appreciative of that. To be a Mason is to be a traveler. It was a little bit more expensive, I think, than normal. I felt like the cost went up a little bit compared to previous trips to Ottawa. But again, we're dealing with, unfortunately, rising fuel costs. Still, I appreciated the trip very much. So in about 60 minutes, we're going to talk about accessibility and adaptability in both our Masonic buildings and Masonic experiences. It's not just the physical building that needs to be adapted, although it does for sure. It's also the experience that needs to be adapted. Hello, Bonglicious. Please hit like and subscribe. When we? A Freemason is a member of a civic institution or group called Freemasonry or Masonic Lodge. It's basically a civic group or a civic institution that has existed for over 300 years that evolved from stonemason guilds in the Middle Ages. Exo, please like and subscribe. James, welcome. Integrity, good afternoon to you. Michael Moore, afternoon to you as well. Garrett Evans, good to see you also. Hello, Kellogg, thank you for being here. One thing I thought was really cool about my trip to Ottawa is they actually had emergency services and emergency preparedness represented to talk about ways that if there's an emergency, people with disabilities should be protected because they might have unique needs. And that's true for our Masonic buildings as well. So, because I'm talking so much about it, I thought that was really cool. Integrity, I mean, that's cool. People, including those who are without homes or homeless, need hygienic products. Absolutely. Do I defend civil rights? Well, Freemasonry is civics, not civil, but I do defend civil rights. I think everybody is deserving of civil rights. And in fact, Prince Hall Freemasonry was famous for supporting civil rights movements. In fact, Martin Luther King Jr. had his, I can't think of the name of it now, forgive me, but had his organization headquartered in a Prince Hall Masonic building. Yes, don't be a bum, hit the thumb. I support that indeed. Hello, Vanish? Vanch7? Same thing, please hit like, please hit subscribe. I truly appreciate it. So once we get an hour in, we're going to go through my awesome package of my goodie bag full of stuff from the Expo, and nothing but respect for the Expo, by the way. It was absolutely incredible. I loved it. It was a blast. It was great to see so many people attend. Great to see so many accessibility groups present. I loved it. I knew that MLK Sr. was a Freemason. I didn't know if there was plans for MLK Jr. to join the lodge. I'd heard that he was planning on, or I'd heard kind of rumors that he was planning on it, but I don't know if that's ever been confirmed. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. Certainly, a lot of his, a lot of people in his organization were themselves Prince Hall Masons, as well as his father and grandfather. And I think maybe father-in-law? I could be mistaken. Thumbnail for what? Integrity. It happens, Dad. I mean, sometimes notifications get turned off. Sometimes they get turned on. It happens. It happens to the best of us. But thank you for being here nonetheless. Oh, my package. Like this? I'm doing well, Minotaur. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well also. I hope you're having a good day. Dad, I'll be back home to see you in about a month, give or take, a little bit less than that. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Everybody joining for the first time, please take a moment, hit like and subscribe. Getting close to 4,000 subs. And yeah, first 60 minutes, no specific topics. We're just going to hang out, chat about whatever. It's the second 60 minutes where we'll go through specific talking points. In this case, the Accessibility Expo and Fair. I mean, that's cool. I wish you best luck in your campus. It was wonderful. I've said it a million times. I'm kind of I consider myself a child of four places. First and foremost, Winnipeg, that's where I grew up. Transcona specifically. Chicago and Glenview. Windsor. But then Ottawa is an incredibly important place to me, an incredibly important part of my life, kind of part of what made me who I am. So whenever I can get back there, I'm grateful for it. And yes, it was a very quick trip. Came up on the Friday, spent one night, left on Saturday. But it was an absolute blast. I loved it. And yeah, amazing expo. Got, made out like a bandit. I got so much cool stuff. A lot of stuff I plan to share with my brethren. So it was really special and really fun. Yes, he is Eric Sanchez somewhere. Harry, that's him. Yes, and believe me, I loved the free coffee. If there's free coffee, that is exactly where I'm going to be. Free coffee and free tea, in fairness. So, not just free coffee, but free coffee and free tea, and a few free snacks as well. Um, so, I absolutely made off like a bandit. One thing, I'm going to share this. I'll be back in a moment. I just got to go and see if I can grab it quickly. I'll be back in 1 minute. Let's see. This is something they showed, which I thought was really cool. Uh, it's something I go on my keychain. This says, in case, I know it's backwards, but in case of emergency, my pets are home alone. And then it's got the back here. And then it directs people to my wallet where I have my identification, my address info. I'd always thought, heaven forbid there's an emergency, knock on wood, I'm hit by a car, who knows what. I end up in the hospital. Will people know, or how will people know to check on my pets, to check on my cat, make sure my cat's okay? And now I have on my keychain a little tag that notes, hey, take care of my pet for me. I thought that was really cool. That was at the Accessibility Expo because they were talking about Emergency Preparedness Week, how to prepare for emergencies, specifically if you have accessibility needs. But then, many people who have accessibility needs, for example, they may have a guide dog or service animals or who knows what. Maybe they don't have access to them during an emergency, letting first responders know. So I thought that was kind of cool. Thank you, Michael Moore. Good. I'm glad you found the challenge coin, and I've sent you a few other items, which I hope you've all been receiving as part of a Patreon. So I'm grateful for that as well. But I loved the wedding. I mean, I will say, I think I told you this before. Maybe the best meal I've ever had at a wedding. It was really good. Um, well, what I would say is the it was the problem was not the problem. The best part.
At bro.michael_e._more-32 degree member, 6 months. Number 15 United States dollars. Keep up the good work, bro. Also, I found the challenge coin you gifted us at the wedding BTW.
I forgot there was going to be like a dinner, so I ate so many of those incredible hors d'oeuvres. I remember those stuffed mushrooms were so good. I think I had like 3 plates full. So by the time I got to the meal, I was bursting at the seams, and then you had this delicious meal as well. Um, but yeah, I remember those mushroom caps. Those were good. Very, very, very good. So, but thank you, brother Michael Moore. It's too bad. I did try to invite some Masons from around the area in Ottawa or building committee to join me at the expo. Unfortunately, no one could be there. But yeah, I'm going to share the information I got. I'm going to send an email to the brethren and just let them know about what I found and what I discovered. And again, it was very Canadian specific because it was in Ottawa, our nation's capital, but the general info could definitely apply to America as well. Um, well, that's the worst part about like a wedding or whatever it is, right? Is it's your night or it's your day, but yet you're kind of making sure everybody else has a good time. You don't get to enjoy the food. as much as other people. You don't get to enjoy the festivities because you're so busy greeting and feeding everybody. Um, but I can tell you, I appreciate it very much. The food was delicious, so thank you so much for that. Also, I did try to use the opportunity of travel to share some stuff on, especially my other channel, youtube.com/Cameron Adamson. Don't forget about that one. It's a great channel. I'm trying to do more on it. I feel like I haven't done near enough. So you're not wrong. I mean, as someone who's been part of many installations, I feel you. Believe me, I feel you. I know exactly what you're talking about. You definitely start to feel the exhaustion very quickly, especially how big you go into it or what you do with it. Because yes, some installations, especially if it's consecutive installations here in Ontario, they can be relatively simple. But even then, there's so much you're thinking about, planning, trying to do. It's tough. I've never heard the term lodge of convenience, so I'm not sure what does that mean? What's going on, Shrey? This is my job, so give me a super chat. Help a brother out. I'd be much obliged. Yeah, that wasn't thank you, Shrey. That video was my mom passed away from cancer a couple years ago. Poor lady, right? Her son's a Mason, her dad was a Mason, her father-in-law was a Mason, her husband was a Mason, but she had a tough life with all these Masons around her. But no, it's nice to look back on that, remember her, especially on Mother's Day. And yeah, obviously, I mean, I'm sad that she passed away. At the same time, she had cancer, and so I was more relieved she stopped suffering than I was sad that she passed away, to be honest. But obviously, you miss her every day, and yeah, I'm sure she's looking down on me and shaking her head at all the dumb decisions I continue to make. Um, how to study physics? Not interested. I've done many streams about physics because physics are an important part of Freemasonry, or the liberal arts are an important part of Freemasonry, and physics or geometry or astronomy, all connecting to physics, are important parts of it. Honestly, not interested. I think a great place to start is Leonard Susskind. He produced a ton of courses on physics, all of which are available for free on YouTube through Oxford. They're really, really good. Or check out some of the stuff I've done on physics, particularly my interview with NASA scientists. Fingers crossed, Brother Michael Moore. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. We need to have more guys running through the bottom. Now that is going to get a clip. We need to have more guys being willing to start at the bottom, work their way up, instead of using the same guys over and over again. We need some younger guys to be willing to start as junior deacons in Ontario, junior stewards, and kind of move through. Some of our PMs. I mean, it's tough, Minotaur. You know, I need to know more about this idea of anyone, right? Like, if if anyone joins and then they're not interested or willing to dedicate themselves to keeping the craft going, that is going to kill morale very quickly. You need to be bringing in people who, and there's no way to know for sure, but you're willing to make a bet that they are going to be active and dedicated to the lodge. Otherwise, you're just basically collecting a paycheck from them, collecting dues from them, which not even a paycheck. The lodge is getting a payday from the dues, but that's not a good model on which to run Freemasonry, because ultimately, what matters way more. What matters way more to a Masonic lodge is not the amount of money in the bank, but the number of people, the number of butts in seats. That's the most important thing. And I think there's a real danger when we start to, try to get as many members as we can simply to collect dues without focusing on, will they be active? Will they show up? Will they care? Now, there are exceptions. right? And the exception is lodges that are designed specifically to be affiliate lodges. Like um, I'm a member of Lodge Holy Land out of Israel. I'm also a member of Tranquility out of Texas. Both of those are designed to be affiliate lodges. The expectation isn't that it's not necessary to visit and attend. It'd be nice to, but they were set up to kind of allow for membership in an idea as opposed to physically attendant, right? Holy Land, the idea of the Holy Land of Israel, of membership in Freemasonry in the Middle East, tranquility, the moon, right? Space exploration, the spirit of exploration, the spirit of advancement. But if you're not one of those types of lodges, you have to show up. You just do. Your dues are not sufficient to keep the lodge going. They're just not. I mean, I think it just takes time not interested in any. I'm not the smartest, and there's many things I've forgotten, but I still love studying physics. I enjoy learning about it, and I think if you just put enough time and effort into anything, you'll remember it eventually. I would love to see the hall. That would be incredible. You should go to it, Dad. Maybe you can get somebody to give you a ride out there. How do Canadian feel? I mean, I'm not sure what Canadian laws, David Thompson, are attacking Freemasonry. I can't think of any Canadian laws right now that are attacking Freemasonry. Obviously, we should be first and foremost, as Freemasons, compliant with and obeying to the laws of the country in which we live and operate. Um, that's been a standard requirement of Freemasonry since operative Masonry, since the Regius poem, but I'm not really sure to which laws you are referring. The Grand Lodge keeps sending us English speakers. How do you do your ritual, Minotaur? Do you do ritual in English or in Spanish or Portuguese? I forget if you're from Brazil or not. How do you perform your ritual as a general rule? Our JD has stepped. That sucks that your JD has stepped off the ladder because that means somebody else has to take his spot, which is obviously really tough. Um, Lodges very often struggle. There's no simple answer. All I can say is if you keep your head down and keep working, sometimes things aren't as bad as they appear. That's something I've had to tell myself frequently because, as somebody who's seen Freemasonry struggle and has been fighting for it, not me alone. Um, it's tough. Switzerland, English. Okay, I don't know why I thought Brazil or South America. I think I must have got you mixed up with somebody else. Excuse me for that. Very sorry. So the Grand Lodge keeps sending us any English speakers. So, or are you saying any, like, if they speak English, they're sent to you automatically without any other concern as to their qualifications? I thought what you were saying is, your lodge performed ritual in a different language, um, and you didn't want to get any more English speakers, you want to get speakers of the native language. I see what you're saying. I get it, Minotaur. Believe me, many Masonic lodges are in the exact same boat. If you could see my text messages to some Masons over the last 10 years, you would see me talking about wanting to quit Freemasonry or I'm going to quit Freemasonry or, fuck Freemasonry. I've said that a few times in some text messages and over the phone. And primarily it's because we're in the same boat in many lodges across Canada and around the world. You have 10 to 12 Masons. You have 10% of the lodge doing 100% of the work. And when you are one of that 10%, burnout, resentment, anger, exhaustion, those things become very real very quickly. You might have seen my rant a few weeks ago. Burnout is a really real thing, and it happens when a small percentage is shouldering a massive amount of work. And I wish I could say I don't have a great solution for it. And that's one of the struggles we've been having. What I will say though is I think Grand Lodges and membership needs to be more appreciative and more cognizant of the level of dedication and work that so few are putting in to keep this thing going for so many. And not necessarily focus on always telling the active Masons what they have to do, if that makes sense, right? One of the biggest dangers you can have is, you'll say we're really struggling to get new membership out, or we're struggling to get membership out, and Grand Lodge comes back and says, organize a special event. Well, the people organizing the special event are the people who are already showing up and already putting in all the work anyways. Like it can't always be put on the same 10 to 12% or 10% of membership. Sometimes you have to set expectations on other members to show up. And if Grand Lodges aren't willing to set those expectations, that's a real challenge. Um, what I can say though is, in my experience, um, Minotaur, if you keep your head down, if you keep working, and if you try to stay positive, and as somebody who believes me, I have had many challenges staying positive over the years, but you try to stay positive, in my experience, usually you can accomplish some pretty great things despite the exhaustion. But at least that's my experience. Um, well, so Minotaur, that's interesting. I mean, that will increase. Sorry, Michael Moore, keeping membership low deliberately will increase the percentage of attendance as a reflection of membership, right? Like one of my lodges has 10 members. So we're averaging 90% to 80% attendance because we have, eight, nine people showing up every meeting. So our attendance as a reflection or as an average of membership is actually quite high. But I think most Masons would say they don't really care about that. What they care about is real numbers. Like a lodge of 2,000 people that has 5% attendance would be 100. I think I'm getting that correct. Like people would see 100 people in the room and think that was incredible. They wouldn't care that that represents 5% of the membership. They would just care that it's 100 people. Most people gauge membership based on real numbers, not based on percentages or ratios, at least in my experience. Zane, welcome. 100% the expectations had to be set without a doubt. Setting expectations is incredibly important. It's incredibly tough, but it's incredibly important. What I would say though is to Brother Michael Moore and Zane, um, I think we sometimes forget, like when you say make sure all the membership has some real work. I've said this before, like presence matters. Presence is participation. Presence is relevant. Just again, if you have 100 people showing up, you cannot spread the work of a degree meaningfully between 100 people. You can try, but at that point, you're going line by line in the book. However, I think it's important that, let's say, the 70 people who have no work to do are simply there for their presence, are still reminded that their presence is valuable, that their presence is important, that their presence helps make the experience better. Like in an initiation, when that brother sees the room full of people, it actually matters a lot. It's going to make him feel more welcome. It's going to make him feel more important. It's going to make him feel more valuable to the craft as a whole. And so, yeah, I think in those cases, we need to remember presence is as valuable as anything else. Zane, Mines promotes the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. We talk about stories of Masonic interest. And I guess my ultimate goal, my ultimate mission is to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession by talking about the ways, by creating content about Freemasonry. Today's topic, I'm going to be talking about my trip to Ottawa and the absolutely incredible, amazing, wonderful Accessibility and Adapt Expo 2026 in Ottawa. I've got this goodie bag full of stuff, which we're going to share all the cool stuff I got and how it applies to Freemasonry. Some of it, there's a really close connection, some of it less so. But yeah, we'll talk about it all. I think I got a lot of cool stuff. And it was a really awesome and really incredible trip. I loved it. So yeah. Well, there is no singular goal of Freemasonry, Zane, other than spending time with one another. I mean, ultimately, that is the goal of Freemasonry. Every individual Mason will set his or her, because there is the Order of Women Freemasons, personal goal. Some want to spend more time with other people. Some want to develop skills and abilities related to things like memorization, meeting management, conflict resolution. Some want to, treat others well. Like there's a million different ways that Freemasons may approach what their personal goal is. For me, it's about trying to build a better world through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. But I think ultimately every Mason decides that goal for himself. The most basic level, at the most basic level, the goal of Freemasonry, in my opinion, ultimately is to spend time with one another, right? It's a club, it's a group, it's a civic institution, it's a civic organization. We're going to give it. So again, the first hour, I don't have any specific topics. I just hang out. Once we're first 60 minutes in, we go through our specific topic. In this case, once again, Accessibility Expo 2020, Accessibility Expo 2026. And Zane, please hit like and subscribe. Don't forget. No, more questions the better, Zane. I appreciate it. Like I said, this first hour, first 60 minutes, I don't have any specific topics. I just chat about whatever. Obviously try to keep it within Freemasonry, but I just chat with people about whatever they want to talk about. So I appreciate the questions. I also appreciate people hitting like and subscribe. No idea who that is, Lance, so I can't speak. I have no idea who that is. Never heard of that dude. He is a I mean, as a general rule, obviously, as someone who makes their living speaking, I support freedom of speech. I think with every freedom, there comes limitations by definition. I mean, defamation, lying, there's obviously needs to be limits on it. And I'm not one who would believe, for example, you should be able to say whatever you want. I'm actually I'm not at this level yet, but I'm one of the people who is a supporter of the idea of registering, you know, um, so registering podcasts. Right now, you need to have 10 million or more in annual revenue to register. And I'm not opposed to that. I forget what the bill was, but yeah, I'm not opposed to that. I'm way under 10 million, but maybe one day I'll get there. Who knows? His answer to what, Zane? By the way, Zane, once again, have you hit like? Have you hit subscribe? That's my question to you. Help me get to 4,000 subs. I'm stuck at this 3,960 mark. Much appreciated. What are your thoughts on Freemasonry, Zane? Have you ever, do you have any thoughts on it? I don't know where you're from. Do you have any lodges close by you? Have you ever been to a Masonic lodge? Many Masonic buildings have events, celebrations. So Freemasonry is not linked to Illuminati. It was once upon a time. Illuminati, as an organization, started in 1776 by a gentleman named Adam Weishaupt. He was a former Freemason who grew to dislike Freemasonry for a variety of reasons and decided to start his own organization called the Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati. He started with two other people. I can't think of their names now. It was kind of an anti-Masonic group, if anything. However, shortly after, there began to be conspiracy theories that the Illuminati had infiltrated Freemasonry. That was never the case. Somebody wrote a letter to George Washington claiming some type of infiltration. To my knowledge, George Washington never responded for obvious reasons. But then, for the last 100 years or so, in my experience, the Illuminati has never really existed in any meaningful way, other than as scams to try to get people's money from them. So I always said 100 years. Brother Michael Moore's putting it early 1800s. I mean, to my knowledge, there were still some Illuminati groups, or at least groups claiming to be Illuminati in the 1900s, 1910s, 1920s. But whether it's 100 years or 200 years, the extent to which it exists now, it's as a scam, right? It's people using the name Illuminati as a way to try and get money from others. So, I mean, welcome, Israel. I would like to think that, whatever your supreme being may be, we are all kind of chosen people of him. But I understand every religion has their own beliefs on that. There are Jewish Masons, Christian Masons, Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, whatever it might be. Again, it was another civic group that was much more kind of quasi-religious. That was started in 1776. It had its own kind of weird rituals and blah, blah, blah. I'm not casting aspersions. People can do what they want. But it was kind of started in many ways as an anti-Masonic group, more so than anything else. Just didn't last, right? Didn't last for a variety of reasons. Hello, Gooey. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you enjoyed some of my posts, clips from social media posts from my wonderful trip to Ottawa. Truly an incredible city, in my opinion, one of the greatest cities ever, a place that helped me become who I am today, for better or worse. So if you don't like me, blame Ottawa. And if you do like me, blame Ottawa as well. I haven't listened to Mac DeMarco yet, but I do know about the Chamber of Reflection. A lot of lodges don't have one, unfortunately. Some lodges do, a lot of lodges don't. Well, Denzel Washington is not a supreme being I've ever heard of before. If you could convince me that it was legitimate belief, I'd be fine with it. But if somebody came to me and said their supreme being was Denzel Washington, my assumption would be on trolling. I mean, I don't know if I'm a kind-hearted guy. Sometimes I try to be. Roger Forevermore, welcome. Thank you for being here. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I think you're new to the stream. Again, the first 60 minutes of the stream, I just hang out, chat about whatever, no specific topics, answer questions about Freemasonry. Then we're going to go into this. I'm going to check out my awesome grab bag full of cool stuff that I collected from the Accessibility Expo. Our buildings and our experiences need to be accessible and adaptable. And I bring out experiences as well, because it's not just about the physical building. For example, let's say you have membership in your lodge that is hard of hearing. how do you make the Masonic meeting experience accessible so they're able to hear you, even if they're really far away, like they're at the other side of the room, master speaking to senior warden can't hear well. Um, Ottawa is a great place. I never felt unsafe there, and I've lived there for 2 years. And whenever I'm in Ottawa, I feel like I'm always out super late at night. Although I like to be out late at night, anyways. I travel around a lot, so Ottawa's an incredible city. Really cool masonry there as well. The primary Masonic building in Ottawa is, I can't even think of the street it's on, the Ottawa Masonic Center, which is a beautiful, gorgeous building. But there's also a really cool building. There's a couple other smaller Masonic buildings in and around Ottawa, but the Ottawa Masonic Center is the one I visited, and it's beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to keep hanging out. Wait to see who joins. Once again, once we get 20 minutes in, we'll start talking about Accessibility Expo. Most people say I'm ugly, so I appreciate that, Super Dab. We have a PhD as speakers. So, I mean, speakers can work really well. We have some in Windsor and they can work well, but they don't always work the best because some type of hearing disabilities, but also some type of hearing aids don't work well with microphones. For whatever reason, they don't catch the sound well. One thing that I learned about is actually I forget the name of it now, but the hard of hearing centers can talk to you more about them. And I learned about this with the Ottawa Hard of Hearing Center. Basically, a pack. So the speaker speaks into a microphone, but that microphone is hooked up wirelessly to a pack and a speaker that you put in your ear. And so you can be 5 meters away, 10 meters away, 100 meters away. By speaking into the microphone, the sound of your voice is carried directly to the recipient's ear through the pack. And that way, you don't have to speak loudly or rely on microphones. We're going to talk about that in a second because I do have the organization that told me about it. Many times also rooms are not, especially in older buildings, are not always designed with acoustics in mind. And again, that may be you need some type of system pack where you can speak into a microphone and the signal is carried directly to the recipient, as opposed to microphones, which to my understanding can sometimes, or speakers on the walls, which can sometimes, cause issues. Well, thank you, Super Dab. Don't go looking for a fight, though, Gooey. Don't go looking for a fight. The best self-defense training is track and field, so you can run away. But I will say this to what Michael Moore said. Michael Moore's point, like being able to project your voice is actually a really, really important part of Freemasonry. If you are going to be an officer, not a bad idea to take some classes, practice, go to the Masonic Lodge building and practice, bring a friend and just practice speaking loudly. Have your friend sit, at a variety of different places within the room, really far from you, to your left, to your right, behind you, and try to get used to speaking loud enough that wherever he's sitting, as compared to wherever you're standing, he can always hear you. It's not a bad way to approach it, People do need. I do find one thing newer officers can struggle with, especially newer Master Masons. Um, One of the biggest struggles, one of the biggest challenges is speaking loud enough so everybody can hear it. Especially if they're naturally more shy, that can be a real struggle. So that's just something worth practicing. We're going to keep hanging out, wait to see who joins again. In 15 minutes, we'll start back on the main topic. But I do like to hang out and wait to see who wants to chat. Hello, Rahul Singh. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. And don't forget, I hope that you enjoy. I hope that you're going to enjoy checking out some of the stuff I posted on my other accounts, particularly youtube.com/@CameronAdamson, where I posted clips from my travels on the bus. Said it a million times. One of my favorite views in the world, probably my favorite view in the world, is looking out the window of a bus, of a train, of a bus, of a train, of an airplane traveling anywhere in the world. I love to be in travel. I love to be in transit. I think we as Freemasons have a responsibility to try and travel as much as we can and as regularly as we can. And yeah, I think I love sharing my views and my clips of my travels. And by the way, travel doesn't mean you're going from Windsor to Ottawa. Travel could mean in Windsor going from one room in your Masonic building to the next to visit a different Masonic Lodge meeting. So we're going to need a bit more time. Just waiting to see if anyone else jumps in the chat, says hello. And again, 10 minutes, we'll start on the main topic. I think this might be a longer stream than normal. We'll see. There's a lot of stuff to show off and talk about. Again, I hope that within Freemasonry, we are spending more time thinking about accessibility and adopting accessible practices and accessible experiences within our Masonic lodges. We're going to keep hanging out. By the way, thank you to everybody who's been supporting me on this channel. Also to my newer Patreons, thank you for finding my Patreon page. That is truly appreciated. Even if you join Patreon for free, that helps out big time, believe me. And so I'm grateful for that as well. There's a million ways to support this channel financially. Memberships, super chats, Patreon, sending in support. There's also a million ways to support this channel that doesn't cost anything. Liking my streams, commenting, sharing videos, following on social media, hitting subscribe on YouTube, becoming a Patreon member for free, following on Instagram, Medium. All of those things help out majorly and would be grateful for as well. Ultimately, engagement is the most important thing. Being on YouTube is kind of like being within Freemasonry in that what matters the most is engagement and involvement. That's what truly social media content creation is all about. That is what the content creation game is all about. All right, let's give it some more time. Oops. Let's go back to all messages. So, Toaster Poodle, Freemasonry is not Judaism for the masses. Freemasonry is not Judaism of any sort for anyone. Judaism is a religion or an ethnicity. I think it's actually religion. Freemasonry is not a religious organization. I'm not trying to create any new world order, Pacific, Atlantic, North. I'm happy with the world order, I suppose, as it is, though obviously there are many things I'd like to see changed. I am trying to create a better world through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth, but that's within my community. I'm not necessarily trying to rule the world, nor are Freemasons, despite what some people like to claim. Freemasonry is neither Judaism for the masses, nor is it a new world order or desiring to create a new world order. So, sorry, but you're wrong on both counts. You've seen The Truman Show. I have seen, well, that was starring Jim Carrey, right? I mean, I don't think I've ever actually seen the entire thing, like from start to finish. I've seen clips of it. I know the premise, obviously. No, I do not know who. Well, I mean, yes, Lee Harvey Oswald. Not a conspiracy guy, not a conspiracy theorist, not a big fan of those, that's for sure. So until I hear otherwise, I'm going with Lee Harvey Oswald. That movie is not about Freemasonry. That movie is not even a little bit about. I mean, again, I've not seen the whole thing, so who knows? Maybe there's something I'm missing. Based on every clip I've seen and every premise I've seen, no, it's not. I know you're reading this. And now you're hidden. We're going to keep hanging out. We're just going to wait to see another 5 minutes and we'll start on the main topic. This guy is just low IQ. Well, what would be lower IQ? Being low IQ or watching somebody who's low IQ? You're the one who's here. So maybe you think I must have something valuable to say. Lispy answer. Well, SMG, you're still here. You're still hanging out. So you must think there's some value to this one, to this stream. Maybe you think Freemasonry is interesting. I don't know. We're going to just keep waiting to see who joins. Once again, first 60 minutes, just hang out. Any thoughts? Well, then here we go. Another thing I do want to talk about is, let me see if I can find it now. In the States, I do believe it is. Let me just double check. I have it written down here in my notes. It is National Historic Preservation Month, which I'm going to be talking about probably on tomorrow's stream. Historical preservation, history, historic preservation needs to be more a part of Freemasonry and the Masonic experience. We have, within Freemasonry, a treasure trove of historical documents, historical items, historical records. Very many of them are not being preserved nearly as well as they could be, as they should be, as they need to be. I think we need to do a much better job at preservation of our historical documents. So, yeah, I wanted to touch on that as well. I think even trying to get them digitized. I've talked about this in the past. Getting our documents digitized is incredibly important. Because obviously preserving the actual original documents is the most important thing. The paper on which they're written, the ink, the writing, the tactile quality of being able to touch and hold them, I don't think that's something you can ever replace. And I don't think we should ever think to ourselves, so long as they're digital, everything's okay. No, we still want the physical copies. But heaven forbid, there's a flood, there's fire, there's rodents, there's sun damage, they're lost in transit if a building moves. Who know, like a lodge moves, who knows what? If we, at least if we have the digital copies of them, we can know that the information and the visual representation of the documents are preserved and are protected, um, if nothing else. So I think it's worth remembering. We need our historical documents preserved across the board. We also should have, by the same token, I think, a record of historical items and artifacts listed and preserved. Again, so if heaven forbid the items themselves are damaged or destroyed, we at least have the information, the pictures, the knowledge preserved. Um, don't come back behind my Illuminati brothers. We got hearts. Is that Smokey the Clown? I mean, Illuminati doesn't really exist anymore, Moto Cows, so I don't know which brethren you're talking about, but good to have you here nonetheless. I hope that you are doing well. There's no final warnings on this stream, though. How's it going, Smokey? Did you get your channel fixed? I know you were working on it. I know you were struggling a little bit because there were some issues with, not your channel, but with your internet. Um, they're doing a great job, is what I've heard. I maybe should see about interviewing them. I've interviewed some brethren from Scotland who are doing the work on it and doing a great job. I'd love to interview them as well because that preservation of historical documents is vital. And also, there may come a time when like historical researchers, archivists, local historians want or need some of that information as well for whatever reason. Maybe they're looking at doing a report about the city. Freemasonry may be integral to the early part of the city's history, or at least the knowledge within the city, knowledge about the city. Like one thing many Masonic documents record is when you have a membership roll, the name of the member, the age at which they joined, when they got their degrees, but it'll also record their occupation, what they worked as. That information could be of extreme value to a historical researcher looking at, the economic history and the economic development of a community. If, for example, 100 years ago, the majority of members in a lodge were, I don't know, electricians, and then 100 years later, they're, I don't know, office workers, what does that indicate about economic trends in that area? A lot of researchers may find that interesting. Grind, I've never met a satanic Freemason. So, to me, it's not impossible. From what I understand, to be a Satanist means you must believe you are your own personal supreme being, which I don't think would work as a supreme being definition for Freemasonry. Um, oh my gosh. Well, I hope, Smokey, that they get the connections fixed soon. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. Also, at least I hope that nobody, I mean, it sucks that the connections got screwed up, but I do hope that everybody was okay. I think that's the most important thing, right? Connections can be replaced, people can't be. Bard Clay, many people don't believe in free will. I don't think you're not alone in that. I think, I mean, I understand the arguments against free will. I do. I can't imagine if free will doesn't exist, what that actually looks like in a practical sense. I don't know what that would mean. I don't know how to exist in such a way as free will does not seem omnipresent in my life. So I think for all practical purposes, we have to assume free will does exist. You can't replace if you forget your password, there should be a way to fix it, I think. We'll have to do it through email or something, right? Um, Good. I'm glad everyone was okay. What did Super Dab do, Michael Moore? All right, we're about 60 minutes in. Oof. So let's talk about Accessibility Expo 2026 in beautiful, in beautiful Ottawa. It actually took place at Carleton University in the field house. I went to Ottawa University, or Ottawa, yeah, University of Ottawa. But I did have friends in Carleton. I did spend some time there, so it was nice to be back in town. The name of well, it was called the 2026 Accessibility Expo as well as Para Sport Expo. The tagline for it was Imagine the Possibilities. Something I think we don't do near enough in Freemasonry. That could be anywhere from Windsor to the rest of the world when it comes to Freemasonry, is we don't imagine the possibilities. We don't imagine all of the things that we in Freemasonry could do, all of the ways that we in Freemasonry could be better. And in this case in particular, all of the ways that we could be better and more adaptable and more adaptable, adopting towards the needs of different abilities within our communities, within our region, within the world, whether that be our buildings, making them more accessible and adopting better practices, or whether that be the Masonic experiences themselves, including our meetings. It was a 1 day expo, started at 10 a.m., went to 3 p.m. They had free coffee, so that's where I spent most of my time. And there was two sections. There was the Adapt Expo, which is all about adaptability for various disabilities, groups, organizations, physical or mental. Then there was also the Para Sports Expo, which was all about sport and sporting. So obviously the focus for me was on the Adaptability Expo because that I think had the most application for Freemasonry. However, I think Parasports Expo, it was fun. I got to learn a lot about Paralympic sports. I was a wheelchair track athlete. I used to play a little bit of basketball. So I know a little bit about Paralympic sports, but it was fun to learn more, especially because I haven't really been involved in Paralympic sports for, I don't even know how long, a long time. So my chat box was frozen, but Super Dab came by to help the algorithm. There you go. Thank you, Super Dab, for helping the algorithm. So we're going to go through this package. This goodie bag was given to the first 400 people who attended the expo. But on top of that, I collected a lot of items and a lot of information from all of the different presenters, from all of the different groups, organizations represented. Starting with, and I'll be posting the pictures of these as well. The Emergency Preparedness Guide for People with Disabilities. So I got one copy in English, one copy in French, because I think that Canada, two official languages, we as Freemasons should do our best to support and celebrate both. It was Emergency Preparedness Week. Emergency preparedness is important for Freemasons. An emergency could happen during a Masonic meeting. I've talked about ways to make our buildings more prepared for emergencies. However, we also want to think about specifically how we as Freemasons can ensure that our buildings are prepared and our experiences are prepared for those who may have disabilities, right? It's not for example, let's imagine that you have in your Masonic building a fire, and you need to make sure that everybody gets out safely. What do you do when it comes to someone who has a disability, who maybe is required to remain in a wheelchair? Can they get up and down? Who can't get up and down the stairs? Many times, a fire will mean the elevator stop working. One idea is keep a note, keep a list. Which brethren in cases of emergency will require assistance evacuating? In some cases, maybe it's not that they can't go up and down stairs, it's just that they're older and therefore will be slower and may need some assistance with somebody, walking next to them, moving next to them, making sure that they are safe getting up and down the stairs. Maybe somebody is blind or hard of seeing. Same thing. You need somebody to guide them and walk with them just to make sure they get out as safely as possible. Maybe somebody is hard of hearing, will not be able to hear instructions right away concerning evacuations. Maybe they'll not be able to hear an alarm if it goes off. Now, part of that is making sure that your alarms are both auditory, so they make a sound, but maybe include a flashing light, a vibration, something that you can sense not just through hearing. So again, if somebody needs to escape, needs to know there's an emergency, they'll be made aware. And if somebody cannot make it up and down stairs, they're in a wheelchair and can't get out of the wheelchair, the chair is maybe too heavy to lift up and down stairs, are you going to note when you contact 911, hey, there's a fire, so-and-so is in a wheelchair, he can't get down the stairs, make sure the fire department knows about him to come and rescue him. Like for me in my building, I'm on the 11th floor, I'm registered, so if there is a fire, the fire department knows I can't, get down the stairs, I might need some assistance, they'll come and get me if I need help. So emergency preparedness is valuable for every member, but it's also valuable for members who have disabilities. They also pointed out, again, in this emergency preparedness guide, and I'm just pulling it up now, service animal emergency preparedness kit, right? Does anybody have a service animal? Can that service animal assist them in the case of emergencies? Is it trained to assist them with evacuations in the case of emergencies? Things like that, right? When it comes to helping a person with a disability in the case of emergencies, important considerations: ask first if the person needs or wants your help. Don't just assume they do. Allow the person to identify how best to assist them. Follow instructions posted on equipment and or assistive devices during an emergency. Let's say, they'll need assistance with their electrical wheelchair or with some type of medical equipment. Make sure you know how to use it. Make sure you're following the instructions. Avoid lifting, supporting, or assisting someone unless you're familiar with safe techniques. And make sure you are regularly communicating with people. Prepare emergency plan with your network at least twice a year. Test it. Do you have, for example, fire alarm drills in your Masonic Lodge building at least twice a year? vision disabilities, same thing, right? Making sure that, and this is something else that's really important to note when it comes to evacuation, when it comes to getting out of buildings quickly. This isn't just for people who are blind, this is, or with vision disability, this is for everybody. Making sure that you don't have debris on the floor, on the ground, blocking emergency exits, right? If you're in a rush to get out of a building because there's been an emergency, there's been a fire, let's say, maybe, heaven forbid, knock on wood, there's some other type of emergency, you need to get out of the building as soon as possible. Having debris in and around exits or on the floor can create tripping hazards for those who are vision impaired, as well as those who are older, and really just anybody, right? Mark all emergency supplies in advance with fluorescent tape, large print, or in braille. Mark gas, water, and electric shutoff valves in advance with fluorescent tape, large print, or in braille. Familiarize yourself in advance with all escape routes and locations of emergency doors, exits on each floor of any building where you work, live, or visit. Include these locations in your emergency plan and share with your support network. For example, might it be worth taking a few moments if somebody is joining your Masonic Lodge who is vision impaired, let's say they are blind completely, to just take them around the building and say, this is the fire escape. This is where it's located. Because in an emergency, they might not be able to see, they're not going to be able to see where to go. They need to know in advance how to get to the emergency fire escape, for example. Making sure that your first aid kit has Braille on it, making sure that your water gas shutoffs have Braille on it, making sure emergency exits have Braille signage. It's a little thing, but it could matter quite a bit. Again, maybe 1 in a million times, but 1 in a million times is really important and matters quite a bit. Emergency plan, if there is hearing impairment, write down, if the person has difficulty hearing or is hard of hearing, do you have pencil and paper handy for written communication? Right? Include a smoke detection system that includes smoke alarms and accessory flashing strobe lights or vibrations to gain the attention if the alarm sounds. Test smoke alarms on a monthly basis. Keep a laminated card on your person and in your emergency kit that identifies you as a deaf person, hard of hearing, and explains how to communicate. Again, if we need to contact emergency services, if you have a medical emergency and you're deaf or hard of hearing, people can know that when they come to assist you. As Masons, one thing to note, if somebody is hard of hearing, don't approach them from behind for obvious reasons. That will startle them. Don't make loud noises. If they have hearing aids, it could amplify the sounds, cause problems. Also, think about people with non-visible disabilities, whatever that might be, anything from, multiple sclerosis, having mental health issues, physical health issues, diabetic. Are you aware of the issues that they may be having? One of the things that I've said a million times, and I know people disagree with it, when you have somebody joining a Masonic Lodge, one of the things I've regularly suggested is at the application process, consider having them fill out a medical form or a doctor's report listing any medical conditions they may have. The reason for this is, amongst other things, for instances of emergencies, situations where there is an emergency. We want to know if there's a fire in the building, right? If there's a fire in the building, do we know who may need extra assistance and extra help getting out of the building due to their being blind, maybe they're deaf, maybe they are mobility impaired? If somebody starts to suffer from some sort of medical emergency in the lodge, maybe they're diabetic, maybe they suffer from seizures. If we know about this as Masons, we're better prepared, better enabled to assist them and to let paramedics know what's going on. We call 911 instead of saying, so-and-so is having a medical emergency. We don't know what's happening. We can say so-and-so is having a medical emergency. We know he's diabetic. We know he suffers from seizures, whatever it might be. And again, if somebody is mobility impaired and can't go downstairs, period, and can't be assisted, when we call the fire department, we can let them know there's a fire, so and so cannot get out of the building, there's a flight of stairs. And the fire department knows to assist that brother and where he's located. Emergencies happen anytime. When you have a disability, there are unique circumstances that need to be considered when planning for emergencies. I think our buildings should create not just emergency plans, but accessible emergency plans. I think that's incredibly, incredibly important. Um, Hello, Father Fred. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Jug Life. I have visible, I have missing my legs, and I have invisible disabilities as well. I have both. And both need to be considered when I'm planning for emergencies. I think language is an important part of accessibility. I have this guide in English. I have this guide in French. I think having, again, Braille signage throughout our buildings is incredibly important. Having Braille signage on a first aid kit, in elevators, at emergency exits, all helps somebody get out of the building safely. Taking a few moments, if you're blind, or if somebody is hard of seeing, take them around the building with their guide dog, with their cane, with their accessibility, whatever it might be. Show them how to get to the emergency exits. Show them how to get, out of a building in case of an emergency. They may need to know that. Maybe even include written instructions in Braille so they can read it if they have to. When we talk about, Freemasonry and accessibility, again, yes, when people think about accessibility, they most often think about accessibility as it relates to physical accessibility issues, specifically mobility impairments, wheelchairs, walkers, prosthetics. Then they sometimes think about deafness or hard of hearing, hard of seeing, vision impairments, hearing impairments. One thing, though, that the Accessibility Expo in Ottawa really focused on was not just the visible or sensory impairments, but also invisible impairments, things that you can't necessarily see, but nonetheless create accessibility challenges. One of them was dementia. I have this here, 8 healthy habits to help prevent dementia. We got this in both English and French. One of the things I thought was really cool, they provided here 8 healthy habits to help prevent dementia. How many of these do you think Freemasonry assists with? Care for your heart. Track your numbers and keep them in the recommended ranges. Track your blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and weight. Be physically active. Aim for 30 minutes of activity most days. Eat healthy. Follow Canada's food guide. Plenty of vegetables and fruits. Limit highly processed foods and make water your drink of choice. Be social. Challenge your brain. Expose your brain to new things. Do more than one type of activity. Protect your head. Sleep well. Get 7 to 8 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. Have a regular sleep routine. Try relaxation techniques. And care for your mental health. Talk about your mental health. Build resilience. Practice all other brain healthy choices. I would suggest, of those 8 healthy habits to help prevent dementia, Freemasonry absolutely provides an opportunity to be social. It absolutely provides an opportunity to challenge your brain through exposing our brains to new things, doing more than one type of activity. I would say within Freemasonry, one of the best ways to challenge our brain is to try to do more than one type of lecture or one type of part in a degree. I know that the tendency is very often within Freemasonry to, once you learn a part, once you learn a degree, or once you learn a part in a degree, once you learn a section, very often our common idea is to say, okay, that's my part. I'm going to do that forever. And that's great. And that challenges your brain because you have to remember it, practice it, study it. However, one healthy habit to help prevent dementia could be learning different pieces of ritual, trying a new piece of ritual. Once you've got one down, try another one, and then another one. Learning new things, trying new things, even within Freemasonry, all the evidence goes to show, according to the Dementia Society of Ottawa, that that helps to prevent dementia. But I would suggest that within Freemasonry, it can also help you care for your mental health by providing people to talk to and speak to about your challenges, about your issues, about your struggles to support mental health. I think Freemasonry can help us eat healthy by having junior wardens focus on providing healthy foods, vegetables, fruits, limiting highly processed foods as much as possible. I think Freemasonry can help us be physically active by encouraging physical activity at the start of meetings, yoga, stretching, even meditation and breathing exercises is a type of physical and mental activity. And maybe we in Freemasonry can invite different groups to come out, talk about caring for our heart, talk about protecting our head from injury and damage, what to do if we get a traumatic brain injury. 8 healthy habits to help prevent dementia. I got this from the Adaptability Expo. Why don't we see if we can adapt and adopt healthy practices within our meetings to encourage physical fitness, to eat healthy, to encourage being social, to encourage mental health care, and to encourage challenging our brain. It's again, because Canada, both official languages, I got this in English and in French, and I'll be posting this on stream. So, and then I got this from the city of Ottawa. Again, this is specifically about creating emergency preparedness plans. It's in French from the Ottawa Emergency Services. Emergency services should be considered an accessibility issue as well. I want to make sure that if we are prepared for emergencies, everybody's prepared. I don't care whether you're in a wheelchair, hard of hearing, hard of seeing, have a mental disability, physical disability, or anything in between. It's our responsibility to make sure you are safe as well. I did also get going through everything in this bag. There's a lot. So Sikh were not the founders of Freemasonry, but there are many Sikh Freemasons. Thank you for this. As you know, I got a new wheelchair and I got a handicapped wheelchair cup holder. Finally, as someone who loves coffee, I thought this was a really cool thing to get. Thank you so much for this. I thought it was awesome. My old wheelchair had a cup holder on it, but I just got this new one. So I thought that was a cool little gift. I was appreciative of it. It actually fits between the cushion and the seat. So that's a cool little note. Oh, and I got this. So this is the T-pull door closer. So in general, the way this works is you put it on basically halfway up your door and halfway in your door. So like basically right in the middle of your door. When you come up to a door, and I've experienced this myself in a wheelchair, it's very easy. You just, grab the handle and you push it. It's very easy to open the door. But if you struggle with mobility, if you struggle reaching for things, right, the door handle, because it's at the end of the door, it can be very hard to reach and grab it and close it when you need to leave. By putting this right in the middle of the door, the T-pull door closer, it's very easy for somebody with a disability, somebody who has trouble reaching, who has a limited range of motion, to reach, grab the door, and close it. So it's called the T-pull. Again, in general, this is just a valuable tool, but it does bring into mind when we are thinking about accessibility, again, doorways are a major component of what makes something accessible or not accessible. In some cases, that may mean making sure our doorways are automatic, so you don't need to worry about reaching to open or close them at all, right? They just open and close naturally. But in other instances, it might mean making sure that if somebody has trouble reaching a door handle when the door is fully open, do you have a system so they can still close it, especially the last ones leaving the building? So yeah, the T pull. One question worth asking in your Masonic lodges are your buildings doors accessible? Can they be opened and closed successfully or easily for somebody with mobility impairments, trouble reaching, whatever it might be? I thought this was worth showing off, and I think people have seen these before. This, it's from a retirement residence. Obviously, mobility and accessibility becomes a really big issue the older you get, the more impaired you get with mobility. But also, you're going to have trouble seeing and hearing the older you get. So this, most people have seen something like this before. This is um, a magnifier. So basically, when you put it in front of text, it helps make the text bigger, right? I was thinking it might be a good idea to create these. We could put the Masonic logo here, maybe the name of our Masonic lodge, and hand these out to brethren when we're handing out their codex or their ritual book. Again, most Masons, when they're joining, are joining relatively younger ages, their 20s, maybe their 30s, so they may not have issues with vision as of yet. However, maybe they want to keep their book for decades. Maybe eventually they're going to have trouble seeing. Now they can still do their ritual work using one of these, which again has the magnifier here. Or maybe they're joining and they actually do have trouble seeing. People can develop vision problems at any age. It's worth exploring, worth checking out. It's a little thing, but I think it could be kind of cool. We also picked up what is the way to walk best. Once again, we got it in English and French. Not an issue for me. As you know, I'm missing my leg, so I ain't walking anyway. However, again, is it worth exploring some of these things with Masons? If we see Masons struggling to walk as they get older, developing mobility impairments, maybe give one of these to them. Maybe invite an occupational therapist in to talk with them about how to walk well. Many occupational therapists may be willing to provide a free seminar or a free workshop to Masons at a Masonic Lodge meeting. It helps get their name out. It helps get their name in the community, and maybe it helps our Masons and our Masonic brethren stay, a bit more steady on their feet for a bit longer. Tunnel vision. I'm glad you like my workout videos, Tunnel Vision. We as Freemasons should care about working out. If for no other reason, then, and where'd I put it? As I was just saying, according to the Dementia Society of Ottawa, I'll track it down. One of the ways that we can work to prevent dementia is, in fact, keeping ourselves physically healthy and physically fit, which makes a lot of sense to me. I'm going through this grab bag of stuff I picked up from the Accessibility Expo. Oh, we got the Ottawa IWBF Wheelchair Basketball World Champions. Many Masonic lodges, to their credit, will organize special events, celebrations, moments, trips to different games. Like we're going to, the Windsor Spitfires games, or going to the Windsor basketball games, whatever it might be. They do that work and it's excellent. How many Masonic lodges organize events, celebrations of Paralympic or disabled sports or disabled events? Like they'll go to in Illinois, for example, they went to some baseball games. I remember. Why not go to a wheelchair basketball game? Or why not go to any type of Paralympic sporting event and celebrate that? I think some Masonic lodges, to their credit, recognize the value of supporting or going out to local sporting events, but do they recognize the value of supporting wheelchair sports or wheelchair events or disabled sports in general? Like one of my favorite things I did last year, like no, this year, I made a bet with the Brethren of Zion Lodge regarding the outcome of the Paralympic sledge hockey games. Sadly, Canada lost, which means I had to pay the Brethren of Zion Lodge a bottle of whiskey and a coin and a special hockey stick from the Windsor Spitfires. But I was still happy to do so because it was a way to support Paralympic sports and a way for Freemasons to support Paralympic athletes. I think we should do more of that. No, Eric, Masons are not all Jews. Masons are all different ethnicities and all different religions. It welcomes men of all different faiths and backgrounds. LeBron, I got this bag full of stuff from the Accessibility Expo, which I'm checking out right now. So, like Michael Moore, I'm not sure if you're still there, but has your lodge ever done anything to support, let's say, wheelchair sport within your community or disabled sport within your community? It was a fun bet. No money exchanged hands, but some whiskey did. Alrighty, next up. And again, I'm going through these in no particular order, just checking out cool things that I got. We've got, oh yeah, so these. So one of the really cool things that they talked about was accessibility tools and accessible ways to garden and to plant gardens, right? Again, if you get older, you can struggle to get, down on your knees to plant things, to till a garden, to work a garden. So they talked about accessibility gardening, but they also talked about the therapeutic value of gardens in general, of plants in general, of being outside. And so they gave me some of these really cool little red and black tomato seeds. I've been talking about wanting to plant gardens and plant items in my apartment, so maybe I'll see about planting some tomato seeds. Who knows? But again, we as Freemasons could take advantage of that and think about that in terms of how can we spend more time outside? How can we spend more time in nature? Could we organize a Masonic trip to a garden, for example? Have a meeting outside, have a couple meetings outside. So this, I got a back scratcher, but this came from, let's see if it works, All Seniors Care Living Centers. Again, senior concerns, senior issues were well represented at the accessibility fair because obviously, as you get older, accessibility becomes more and more of an issue. You're more likely to develop hearing issues, visual issues, mobility issues, mental health issues, dementia, all of the above. But I really thought this was cool, or just connecting with these care centers, because many Masons who get older end up in assisted living centers, assisted care centers, and they may not, does the care center to which they're living, does it know that they're Freemason? And if they did, would there be a way that they could assist the brethren to get to and from his meeting? Could they provide transportation services? What do they do with the Masonic items that the brother has in his possession? I once had a brother who was in a care home. He passed away, and the care home called me. I was a worshipful master at the time. Called me and just advised that they had all of his Masonic regalia. He didn't have any family. They didn't know what to do with it. So do we have a way to keep in touch with local care homes and retirement communities and let them know, hey, if you have anybody who has these items, who is a Freemason, contact us. We'd love to know about it. Maybe we can assist that brother in connecting with some Masonic lodges. We'll know what to do with his items. Maybe we can help get him to and from some meetings. And also, share information about our Masonic retirement communities themselves. Texas Masonic Retirement Community, the Michigan and retirement community in Alma. Those are great places to check out. Not all the Freemasons, but some do. I've known Masons who've had dementia. It happens. How are we as Freemasons supporting those brethren? I think it's worth talking about. Um, Ottawa Shared Services Organization, helping nonprofits focus on impact. I think it's worth keeping in mind, Freemasonry, generally speaking, would be considered nonprofit in many cases. Sometimes it's a charity, sometimes it has business components, like it's building, like Michigan, right? It has its building, which is, I mean, it could be a variety of different designations, but it's almost always being volunteer run. Sometimes any type of group, including but not limited to nonprofits, may need assistance with the administration. Um, the henchman, that's a very cruel thing to say. Um, that you might be a very cruel person. Registered Disability Savings Plan, they had talk about that. That's primarily a Canadian thing, but I suspect the States may have something similar. Freemasons do partake in charity work. Again, Freemasonry is not inherently a charity, but we do participate in a lot of charitable work. The Masonic Charities Foundation is posting a lot of great stuff about that as well. So here we have this. Now, I've talked about this a lot. The Ottawa Public Health My Emergency Contacts. This is a card that you can put in your wallet. And again, if, heaven forbid, you have an emergency, a medical emergency in your lodge meeting, in your lodge building, at a Masonic event, they call 911. Do they have a list of emergency contacts that you can call in case of emergency to say, so-and-so just had a heart attack, just had this, just had that. He's at the hospital. Does your lodge know who to call? Would the doctors at the hospital know who to call? They do for sure, Aldo. They absolutely do for sure. Oh, so this is really cool. So if I could grab it. Oh, it's so far down. So this is a nightlight. But it came from, so there is an organization there that focused primarily on providing assistance to to renovate, I'm trying to grab them here, to renovate residential buildings to make them more energy efficient and more energy more energy efficient, to reduce the total costs of the residence itself. And it was great talking to them about how we can take those renovation ideas and apply them to our Masonic buildings. Again, the majority of our buildings were built in the 1920s as well as the 1950s, at a time when, yes, accessibility was considered not that big of a deal, but energy efficiency was also considered not that big of a deal. So it's worth thinking about how we as Freemasons in the last 20 years can try to make our buildings more energy efficient. Even if you don't care about the environment, which you should care about how much it costs to operate your building, how much it costs to run your building, how much it costs to, have your building operate. And cutting energy costs is a huge part of that. So it was called the Enviro Center Affordability. Enviro Center Affordability helps Eastern Ontario residents make their homes more energy efficient through fully funded programs. Eligible homes may receive free home upgrades, including appliances, insulation, draft proofing, LED lights, and in some cases, heat pumps. There are some Masonic buildings, by the way, throughout the world that do actually have residences attached to them. Woodstock has apartment complex attached to it, for example. So those are residences in apartment complexes. Maybe cutting some of these costs isn't something they should consider. We don't have any reptilians. I'm very sorry to disappoint you. Oh, I've talked about the T-pull door closer already. Make sure our doors are accessible for our membership is incredibly, incredibly important. Aging safely at home. Again, this is for residences. However, this could apply to our Masonic buildings as well. Make sure that light switches are easily accessible. Remove excess furniture and create clear pathways to minimize tripping and falling. Remove any tripping hazards. Eliminate or minimize thresholds between rooms. Maintain proper exterior and interior lighting. Add extra lamps to brighten rooms and hallways. Install on-off timers for lamps and rechargeable night lights in case of outages. An area with no power outlets, use battery-powered motion sensor lights. Install lever-style doorknobs and, if possible, lever-style faucets. Install oval handrails. Store away all tripping hazards. Lower the water temperature. Use motion sensor lights to ensure safe movement throughout the home. Right, they just mentioned it. Install lever-style doorknobs or door openers if at all possible, such as the T-pull door closer is a great example of that. And again, you'll notice I have this in both French and English. I think one of the biggest pieces of information I got from this, and I never even thought of, is if you have somebody who is visually impaired, who is hard of seeing, you know, especially if they're completely blind, taking a few moments to show them around the building, take them on a tour so they know how to move in the building, you know, with their cane, with their guide dog, whatever it might be, so they know how to get to the emergency exits, how to get where the stairs are, whatever it is, where the tripping hazards are. Get them familiar with the building so they know where to go and how to move in case of an emergency. That's something I never thought of. You know, I thought about having emergency exits, having those exits well lit, having those exits well displayed, having them clear. I never thought of actually physically taking somebody who's blind or hard of seeing and physically taking them on a tour, showing them where the exits are so they know how to get there. I also never thought of having braille signage on doors and on first aid kits. Those are both things that this expo reminded me to consider. We've got, oh, this is a pin for Hard of Hearing Canada. Much appreciated. So one thing that I was grateful for is I've talked a lot about how within Freemasonry, it's so important to be a traveler. I've talked about how valuable travel is to the Masonic experience, for the Masonic experience. I discovered the Access Travel Club. I'm going to talk more about it and send an email to them. But they actually created accessible travel experiences for the membership, for their members. So people, again, older, hard of seeing, hard of hearing, in wheelchairs, walkers, whatever it might be, using crutches. How can they travel and advocate for travel for them as well as for everybody else in a manner that is safe, affordable, convenient, and allows them to take advantage of what it means to travel, right? To see different sites, to meet different people, to experience different things. They also organize virtual travel events, which I think is really cool. So I'm going to be keeping in touch with them without a doubt, because again, if I'm talking about the value of travel as a Freemason, which it is, and let's say a Mason wants to travel but is in a wheelchair, how can he access those travel opportunities? They also had at the Expo, Air Canada was present, which I thought was wonderful. They talked about the ways they make air travel accessible for all. And again, as someone who travels for Masonic events all the time, I thank them for the steps they take to make sure it's accessible. And they had local public transit available and present as well to talk about the way they make sure that their public transit in Ottawa is accessible. By the way, I'll say public transit is wonderful and an excellent part. It's wonderful, and thank you to them. Without public transit, I cannot take part in the Masonry I take part in. Okay, so Eldro brings up a really good example as well. Hello, Eldro. Um, Sometimes are the doors, if the doors are too narrow, do you need to widen them? Now, again, you have to balance that out with the possibility of heritage. It could be that, especially if it's a facade door, you could be not allowed to widen the doors because heritage says, the doors are part of the historical character of the building. So then what do you do? Do you have double doors? But are your doors too wide or too narrow? That's an issue as well. So it's a very good point. Thank you, Eldro, for that. Connor Randoms, welcome. Thank you for being here. Jesus Christ, please hit like and subscribe. Jesus Christ 777. We got from Good Access a Easy Gripper jar opener. Thank you for that. We've got Ontario Medical Supply. Very cool pad. And some post-it notes from Richelieu. We've got some bouncy balls from Maple Care Physiotherapy and Sensitivity. I think this was for, this is actually a stress ball for people who may have emotional, or mental health issues. Maybe they require a stress ball. There's been times in my Masonic Lodge meetings where, believe me, I've required a stress ball. So there is that. Light stick. I talked a lot about emergency preparedness and accessibility. I've always talked about having flashlights available, but I will say, even if you are keeping your flashlights fully charged, which you should, and even if you have spare batteries, flashlights are a piece of technology. They can malfunction. Having a light stick, not the worst thing to have by any means. So keep that in mind. Oh, we got another one of these. In case of emergency, my pets are home alone. Not a bad idea, as I think about it. If you're a Freemason, maybe let your Masonic brothers know if you have any pets and how many. Because again, if you suffer an medical emergency at lodge and you end up needing to go to the hospital, is there a brother that knows you have pets and can go and check on them for you and make sure that they're doing okay? I do, even for me, I sometimes think to myself, if I'm in an accident, get into an emergency, will my cat be okay if I have to spend a couple days in the hospital? I try to keep my cat well fed and well watered, but maybe it'd be nice to let the emergency personnel know, hey, I got this cat, go check on her, please. We got a fridge magnet. Oh, we got foot care stuff. Probably not that important to me, but Epsom salts. Take care of your feet. Like in Forrest Gump. Very important. Hello, Ozzy. Thank you for being here. I hope that you're doing well. We've got, and to their credit, they gave you a lot of stuff. I'm grateful for it all. I'm going to go through, again, what I kind of took from all this stuff very shortly. I've talked about this a whole bunch. Again, we as Freemasons should know about what resources are in our communities to help people who may be suffering. 988 for those who are thinking of self-harm. Having maybe some of these stickers throughout your building, or at least letting Masons know about it if they are struggling, is a very valuable thing. Got myself a very cool tape measure. Some pens. I got some more pens to show off in a second. I'm going to add these to my first aid kit, some Band-Aids. I'll put one for my personal first aid kit and one for the lodge's first aid kit. Here it is. My pet is home alone. In case of emergencies, where to call. This is going in my wallet for sure. 988 magnet for the same thing. Maybe put that in the lodge somewhere just in case. some business cards of the different groups and organizations that were present. A lot of them I will be sending emails to, just thanking them for being able to see them and hoping that they will, be able to assist me with some questions like Gary. So buildable.ca, this group, this company, they were responsible for creating more accessible residential homes or modifying homes to make them more accessible, which I thought was awesome. But we got into a really fun, really good conversation about how can we make our Masonic buildings, especially when they're heritage buildings, more accessible. And they gave me some really cool ideas. So I'm going to send them an email and explore it more. Because, yeah, making Masonic buildings more accessible is something where you do have more considerations than you might have in a residential home. Specifically, heritage considerations, right? Are you allowed to make modifications to your building? And usually, in my experience, one will try to trump the other. Like, accessibility usually will trump heritage requirements. However, if you're able to make your building more accessible, but also maintain the heritage designation or heritage status, you're expected to do that as well. So we got this very awesome USB stick. Always good to have a clip. That's really cool. I do have a pet. And again, if I got into a medical emergency in a Masonic Lodge meeting, would my brethren know about my pet? Tell somebody to go check on Bandit for me. I hope they would. Also, I got this cool, another really cool tape measure. So there you go. I think that's really cool. Right now, I will say this is my keychain. It's getting a bit much. It's getting like the George Costanza wallet, but it's still awesome. So, and then I got a bunch of other pens as well from a whole bunch of different groups. I also got to play some wheelchair rugby, which was terrifying. Those guys hit hard. I got a pen from Conval Aid, healthcare specialists, from Maple Care Physiotherapy, from Ontario Medical Supply, and from Richelieu. So, I would say, to summarize, 5 ideas I took from the Expo, which I think can apply to our Masonic meetings. Actually, I'm going to say 10 altogether. Number 1, if you have a applicant or a brother joining who is visually impaired, it could be all the way to completely blind, to having a percentage of blindness, to be just hard of seeing. Or if you have somebody who is a Mason already, but let's say loses their eyesight due to age, due to an accident, medical condition, whatever it might be, take the time to actually show them around your building again as they are visually impaired. Walk with them with their guide dog or with their adaptive device, their cane. Walk with them, move with them to the emergency exits. Let them know and tell them, speak with them about, okay, these are where the stairs are. This is how many stairs there are to the emergency exit. This is how you get there. This is some potential tripping hazards obviously try to get rid of them, but this is where the furniture is. This is where, the hallway's more narrow here, wider here, whatever it is. Take an extra 20, 30 minutes to physically walk with them and talk with them about the emergency exits and where they are, where they lead, where to go, all that stuff. You don't want, there to be a fire, who knows what, some type of emergency requiring evacuation. And for the first time, the person who's visually impaired needs to make their way to the emergency exit without ever having, gone through them before. Number 2, make sure your secretary has a list of who in the lodge might need extra assistance during an emergency due to accessibility issues. Wheelchair, blind, deaf, whatever it might be. Make sure that you have that list And if you need to, when you're contacting and talking to the paramedics or the fire department, let them know brother so and so is on the second floor. He can't get downstairs and he's, in his wheelchair. He can't get out of it. He needs assistance, or so and so is blind, so we'll walk down the stairs with him or whatever it is. We'll go a little bit slower to make sure he gets out okay. Right? Just know who needs extra assistance and what type of assistance and how you can provide that. Number three, make sure that your smoke alarms or smoke detectors have flashing lights or vibrations or some other way to alert somebody who can't hear them go off, but visual representation of the emergency as well. Number four, where did I put it? I had it here a second ago. When we are handing out our ritual books and our ritual ciphers, maybe consider creating some of these. These are little cards. They have a magnifier. This is a magnifying area here. It makes things, bigger as you put it up to the writing. Maybe it's possible that the Mason who's joining may already be hard of vision, hard of seeing, but if not, he may become so in time. You can put your lodge's name and contact information down here, your secretary's name, whatever, something about Freemasonry, but it's a cool little thing that may make it easier for him to go over his Masonic ritual book. And also make sure we have Masonic ritual books in Braille on a side note. I think that's incredibly important as well. I'm sure they exist. I've not seen one, I don't think, but having Masonic ritual books in Braille would be very helpful as well. I got this again from a seniors care home. Make sure that we as Freemasons have decent relationships with Masonic care homes. If we have a brother going into a care home who is struggling with, who's going to a care home, maybe we can offer him rides to and from the Masonic meetings. Maybe he's bringing in Masonic items with him to the care home when he passes away. Does the care home know what to do with them? Can we organize some type of Masonic event at the care home if the brother is too ill to travel? Right? I think we need to, unfortunately, our membership is getting older. They're struggling. We need to make sure that we are taking the time to meet with these care homes, making sure our brothers are being taken care of, especially if the brother has no family and needs us to advocate for him on his behalf. Make sure that you have a few light sticks in your emergency preparedness package at the Masonic Lodge building. Again, first and foremost, what you should have is emergency lighting that turns on in case of an emergency, in case of a power outage. You should also make sure you have flashlights with extra batteries, but that's all technologically based. It doesn't hurt to have a few light switches that are analog, just in case for whatever reason, they stop working. So that's a belt and suspenders, or in this case, it's a belt. Your belt would be your emergency lighting. Your suspenders would be your extra flashlights. And then a third thing, I don't know what you want to call it, clips, would be light switches, just in case. Make sure you have Braille on your first aid kits and Braille on entry and exits. Speaking of, consider having on your doors, whenever you can, again, this T-pull system. It makes it 10 times easier to close doors. It's easy if you come in and let's say you have trouble reaching, you can only reach so far. If you're in a wheelchair, whatever it might be, it's very easy to reach, if a door is closed, to grab a door handle and push it open. But when you're leaving your house, when you're leaving your Masonic building and you need to close that door, reaching for that door handle when the door is fully open or even partially open can be a struggle for people with mobility impairments. Having a T-pull system or an automatic door is another option. Having this lever-style door opener actually makes it a lot easier to open, to close doors after they've been opened. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you provide information in a multiplicity of languages, English and French in Canada, Braille. And if you're having an event for the public, consider having the event in English, French, and having sign language interpretation. Speak to your local hard of hearing organization or hearing disability group about creating some type of, like, have them tour the building and have them provide you the information on the best possible ways to make your building accessible for those that are hard of hearing, right? You're making the experience accessible. That could mean having specially designed packs that you as the worshipful master speak into a microphone, and the sound is transmitted directly to the pack and directly to the brother who's hard of hearing, because microphones sometimes don't work with every type of hearing aid. And I believe that would be it. Oh, and the last thing, parasports. Many Masonic lodges will support local sports teams. I've been to Illinois where they went to a local baseball game. I've been to lodges where they've gone to local basketball games, local soccer games, whatever it might be. Are they supporting local Paralympic athletes and Paralympic games and Paralympic events? I've done so through sledge hockey, but let's not forget about our Paralympic athletes and our wheelchair athletes. I think they are very often overlooked by community groups and civic groups, and that includes Masonic groups. So keep that in mind also. So there you go. I want to say once again, thank you to the Accessibility Expo 2026 and the Parasport Expo 2026. It was incredible. I thought that they did an absolutely amazing job supporting and showing the value of accessibility. Their tagline was "Imagine the possibilities." I think we within Freemasonry should be spending more time imagining the possibilities as it relates to our Masonic buildings and our Masonic experiences, and imagining the possibilities of making them more accessible to the public and to our membership. So there you go. Oh, and yeah, I'm relieving some of these. Oh, and sorry, the last thing, I think this is number 10, if I recall correctly. It was, I thought, really valuable to note when it came to Freemasonry, or when it came to dementia. Again, we have this here in English and French, 8 healthy habits to prevent dementia. How many of these habits we within Freemasonry either are by default engaging in these habits or could? Being social, challenging our brain, caring for mental health. All of those things Freemasonry is already promoting naturally. Being social, challenging our brain through ritual work and memory work, caring for mental health by having social supports. But also we as Freemasons can develop habits related to caring for our heart, eating healthy, protecting our head, all of those things. Why not have, for example, in a Masonic Lodge meeting, bring in the emergency, or bring in, a traumatic brain injury group to talk about how we can protect, how to protect ourselves from traumatic brain injury, I think is worth exploring. GUI, just make sure that if you're carrying a firearm or pepper spray, you're doing so in compliance with whatever the laws are of the country in which you're located and in which you live. You want to make sure that you are doing that. And by the way, also thank you to Spring Living Retirement Home for this really cool gift package they gave me. Thought that was really nice of them. Let's make sure that we as Freemasons are doing our best to create good relationships with our local retirement communities. Very likely that some Masons will end up there, and so we want to be prepared and have a good relationship with them right off the bat. All right. Now we're back to just general questions. So once again, any questions you have, any thoughts you have, any comments you have on Freemasonry, please let me know. I'll do my best to answer. We're kind of back to just hanging out. I am going to talk tomorrow probably about National Historic Preservation Month, but that's tomorrow. Today, just more chatting. Like, subscribe, super chat. Thank you to the members. YouTube Stabworthy, welcome back. Good to see you once again. I hope you're doing well. For the time being, though, we're back to just hanging out. I hope you guys found at least some of the information useful. Let me know if there's anything that I said that stuck with you, maybe positively or maybe negatively. If there's something that you disagree with, then let me know what you disagreed with, and I'll do my best to try to answer that one as well. I hope you will. By the way, Canadians, make sure that you are completing your census. It's a very important thing to do. Helps make sure that the proper resources get where they need to go. So I completed mine. It was easy. It was quick. It was fine. It was fun. Yeah. But for now, we're just going to wait to see who joins. And going to see if we get any more comments popping up. So I definitely will be hitting up the Expo again next year. They did an incredible job. Nothing but respect for them and for all the work that they put in. And now we're just hanging out, waiting to chat. Welcome, and thank you for joining us so far. Let me know if you've ever been to Ottawa. That'd be cool to know what you thought of it, if you enjoyed as much as I do. Like I said, one of the greatest cities in the world. I absolutely love it. I really can't wait to get back to it. Every time I leave, I'm sad because it's such a beautiful and such an incredible place. I also stayed in a really cool Airbnb, which called the Gold Door Inn. Really nice spot. It was really interesting. It was a neat room. So now we're just hanging out, waiting to see who joins. I'll be back on, by the way, at 1 a.m. tonight as well, so you can find me then. I do these streams 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. And then on weekends, when I can, I try my best to produce some type of more longer form content, and interview, whatever it might be. But that's for later. What's up, Droll de Camp? How's it going? I don't know if you saw my what I was talking about, basically accessibility and Freemasonry. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or if there's anything else you want to talk about, let me know. At work on lunch. Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate it, especially because your lunch is, you only have so much lunch. So I appreciate you spending at least some of it with me. And I hope you're doing well. When you think of accessibility, what are some of the things that come to mind for you? I'd love to hear it. And like I said, we're just going to keep hanging out for the time being. Just wait to see who joins. We're back to just chatting. So I don't think the Gmail symbol is a Masonic symbol. The extent to which people say it looks like it is just a coincidence. At least that's been my experience. Kind of like when people say about X as well, but it's not that either. I hope I give good answers. I'll always try my best to give good answers. I don't always succeed, but I'll always try my best to give good answers. I'm wondering if people are, concerned about hantavirus. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. I always give the same advice. Listen to health authorities. If there's a vaccination recommended from a health authority, you should get vaccinated. Um, Never panic, because panic is never a good thing. But just listen to local health authorities and listen to their advice. That's my that's always going to be my advice. I've got all the COVID vaccines. I got my vaccines for travel, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, yellow fever, tetanus. I ain't glowing green yet, so I've never heard. Yeah, I've never heard. I've heard people say the Gmail symbol is Masonic. I've heard people say the X symbol is Masonic. I've never seen any proof of either of those things, so I find it highly questionable, to be honest. Um, I think it's baloney. Freemasonry is not a business. We're not controlling Gmail. We're not part of Google. Um, there's separate things, right? There's separate things that occupy completely different spaces. But there's a lot of videos that claim stuff like that. It's unfortunate, but c'est la vie. All I can do as a Freemason is try my best to demonstrate the truth about, demonstrate the truth, my experience with Freemasonry, what Freemasonry actually is, be honest about the negatives or the challenges it's facing, and you kind of go from there. That's all you do. If I glowed green, I would be Shrek for sure. So many people say I'm Shrek already, that I look like Shrek, that yeah, if I glowed green, oof, I can only imagine what people would be saying about me at that point. We're gonna keep hanging out, Raymond. When you say consider it, like Raymond, that's kind of like if I were to consider the possibility of invisible leprechauns in my apartment. Anything is possible. So sure, it could be that there is some sinister Masonic hierarchy that I've just never seen or been privy to. I would consider it as possible as there's invisible leprechauns living in my apartment complex. The reason I say that is I've been a Mason for just about 20 years. I've traveled around the world for Freemasonry. I've visited Masonic lodges in the Philippines, in Brazil, in throughout America, in Colombia. I've been part of meetings regarding the finances. I've been part of meetings regarding the bylaws, Grand Lodge committees, right? At a certain point, I have to be able to trust what I've seen, what I've experienced firsthand, um, and what is the most likely and logical explanation, which is there simply is no hidden hierarchy within Freemasonry, but Freemasonry is exactly what it appears to be, a decentralized civic institution. But yeah, I think for a lot of people who are on the more conspiracy side of it, they simply they if they want to believe that there is some secret hierarchy within Freemasonry, they're going to believe it no matter what. I can just use common sense and my experiences to kind of be the best judge. You kind of take that for what it's worth, right? Um, Especially because it's not as though you need to call in advance. It would be one thing if every time I was going to attend a meeting, I had to let them know in advance I was going to be there. That's one of those things where it's like, sure, I could imagine, oh, Cameron's coming, he's too low on the list. We need to hide or something, the truth about what's going on. Like, I could imagine people, um, if that was the case, but it's not. I can show up to meetings completely unannounced. I've done so many times without issue. So what are they hiding from me? How could they hide from me, you know? Most of the meetings at local lodge, I mean, some Masons may drink rum and smoke cigarettes. I don't do either of those things, but you know, maybe I'm boring. You have to show up yourself for karmic reasons. I don't know what that means. I mean, I don't know if you have bad karma if you don't show up to a lodge meeting. I do tend to think karma, there might be something to it, but I'm not showing up to lodge meetings to get good karma. And for that matter, I don't think not showing will get me bad karma. Who is them, Rayman? Being at the lodge is present and participation. That's very true. Well, presence is participation, right? That's what I always say. Presence in lodge is participation. It's not simply just about being present. Well, there's some people have this idea that if I show up in lodge, I'm present, but like I'm not participating. That's not how it works. Whether you are there sitting in the sidelines watching, or whether you are there performing a ritual piece, or whether you are the secretary, or whether you're the treasurer, your presence is in and of itself a type of participation. And it's incredibly valuable and very often incredibly underrated in our Masonic experiences. Um, so presence is participation. That's what I will always say. So it was Zanon who said them. I'm not sure them what. Well, last night, I don't know what that means. I mean, last night, what was I doing? Last night I was made it back to Windsor from Ottawa. Guarding the West Gate is an important part of Freemasonry. Um, but what that means, there's no single answer to that question, right? A lot of people are struggling right now with understanding what it means to guard the West Gate. I don't think everybody necessarily knows the answer. Sometimes you can overguard the West Gate, just for the record. I would not forget about that. Sometimes it's very possible to overguard the West Gate. And sometimes you can under guard the West Gate as well. We're going to keep hanging out. Wait to see who joins. Again, we're just back to chatting. But I do want to say one more time, thank you, Accessibility Expo 2026, for an incredible time. If for no other reason than you gave me an excuse and a reason to visit, I would say, well, one thing I've talked about before, an absolute, one of, in my opinion, the greatest cities in the world, a place that's incredibly close to my heart, a place I love, um, and that I'm so grateful for. So thank you to Ottawa. And I hope to get back there sooner rather than later, because I think it'd be really fun. you said you can't go wrong with Ottawa. If you never get the chance to visit it, I really hope that you would. You're missing out. Jeremy, I don't know what you're talking about with how's Big Brother doing. I don't know what that means. Freemasons are not Big Brother, just for the record. Plus, I never really liked 1984, for the record. Never liked that book. I know it puts me in the minority, but I'm not a big fan. The only problem with Ottawa is the people in the House of Commons. I mean, I worked in the House of Commons. Um, I was a conservative intern back when I was conservative in 2008 and 2009. In 2008, I was an intern in the Office of Canada Revenue Agency. And in 2009, I was an intern in the Office of the Prime Minister, both of which were absolutely incredible. And I loved it. Ottawa is a place so near and dear to my heart. And I remember going, like, um, the office of prime minister was located in Langevin Block. I forget the name of. They changed the name of it since, but it was basically across from Parliament, if I recall correctly. But I would always, there were many times you had to go to Parliament Hill. A few times I got to have, lunch at the Parliament Hill kind of cafeteria. It was just really cool. Parliament Hill's beautiful. And the people are doing their best. It's easy to knock politicians. I don't know if it's always that helpful. Um, but Darth, have you been to Ottawa? Are you from Ottawa? Have you ever visited it? What did you think of it? If you did, really cool city. So you're from Battlefields. You're from Alberta. I met Pierre Polyev once. Like I said, I'm not, the Freemasonry is not political. Keep in mind, there are many Freemasons and many different political beliefs. I personally have switched over. I'm support of the Liberal Party now, but I mean, I did meet Pierre Polyev on a couple of occasions when I was working as an intern. So yeah, it's. I hope he was nice to you. In my experience, most politicians, it's kind of easy to make fun of them, easy to kind of knock them, but usually one on one, they're pretty good. I did. I got all my stuff over here in like a big pile. Um, some of the things I did mention worth maybe showing off again. I don't know how much you saw. Um, one of the things they handed out were these emergency preparedness light sticks, instant light. I've talked about how our buildings should have accessibility, should have emergency preparedness kits that include flashlights with extra batteries as well as accessible lighting. I also recommended, maybe have a few light sticks in there just in case the flashlights with the batteries stop working for whatever reason. I showed off this cool thing. This is something to read. This is a magnifying card you can put over writing to magnify the writing. I thought it'd be kind of cool to hand these out with our ritual books. You can put the name of the lodge down here. That way, if a brother has trouble reading, he can go through those. I talked about ways to modify or adapt emergency plans for those who are hard of seeing or hard of hearing. Talked about the necessity of creating relationships with old age homes or care homes, having emergency information in multiple languages, including Braille, um, making sure Masonic brothers know if we have any pets at home. So if we do suffer an emergency, um, a medical emergency and we need to go to the hospital, um, at least in those instances and in those cases, our brothers know, hey, he has pets at home, let's go take care of them. So, and there's other things I talked about dementia and Freemasonry, or the ways that Freemasonry can produce habits that help should the Freemasonry helps develop habits that prevent dementia. I thought that was a really cool thing to know. So yeah, those are some of the things I took from it. Accessible doors. It's very often what I find is for people, it can be very easy for them to, open doors, especially if they struggle with mobility. They can still reach the door handle to open and push it open. But once the door is fully ajar, fully open, closing it again, reaching that handle again can be really tough. So in those cases, having and I don't know where I put it now, having this kind of T-bar open system can be a really good thing. Basically, it goes halfway in the door, makes it easier to reach to open and close, as opposed to using the handle. Um, yeah, there's other things I talked about as well, but those are just some of the cool things I wanted to mention. Consider yourself, you're not wrong, and that does concern me a little bit. That I think in some cases, unfortunately, we are seeing the definition of service animal grow quite substantially, but I do think there's a legitimate need for service animals. We as Freemasons should make sure that as much as possible, we are being respectful of legitimate service animals, welcoming them into our buildings. And also, again, this goes back to the idea of if somebody is, let's say, hard of seeing, blind, excuse me, not able to see at all, take a few moments to show them, to physically move with them and walk with them and take them to the emergency exits, where the emergency exits are located, letting them know about anything that might be around them, steps, letting them know about location of furniture, removing tripping hazards. That way, if there's any emergency, if there's a fire, if they need to exit really fast, they will not, they're not struggling to find the emergency exits or whatever it might be, but rather they'll find it right away. Have a list of people who might need assistance in an emergency. John Smith is in a wheelchair, so the fire department knows if they're coming for, let's say, whatever the emergency is, a fire, obviously, or maybe there's been an earthquake, or maybe there's an evacuation order, whatever it might be. Maybe you have police coming because there's, heaven forbid, knock on wood, an active shooter. Do the police know about people who might not be able to evacuate safely due to accessibility issues? Think it's worth exploring. What kind of music do you like? My favorite song is Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. Absolutely my favorite song in the world, Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. Number 2, a close second, would be Prodigal by Blacktop Mojo. I like Coffee at Midnight. I like all kinds of music. I've said it before, music is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. And I'm a firm believer in that. So yeah. Dogs are God. I mean, I love dogs. I do not disagree with you on that one, even a little bit. I think dogs are awesome. So, I think animals are awesome. I think I've said it before, but I think I like animals more than I like most people, and that includes dogs. Having said that, dogs are God's gift. I hope that you'll hit the like button. I hope you'll hit the subscribe button. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear it. We're going to give it a bit of time and wait to see who joins. Again, no specific topics now. I've opened up my accessibility bag, so we're back to just hanging out and chatting about whatever. So any thoughts you have, let me know. Dogs are God's gift. What are your thoughts on Freemasonry? I'd love to hear it. And don't forget, I will be back on at 1 a.m. this morning, so you can find me then as well. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, Johnny. KSI is a handsome fellow, if I recall correctly, so I'm going to take that as a compliment and say thank you. Who cares what Jesus said? Well, I mean, Christians, by definition, I suppose. Johnny, please hit like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry or anything you want to talk about. Approximately, there you go. So approximately 2, but is that how many Christians there are? I'm not sure what the numbers are. We're just going to keep hanging out, though, wait to see who joins. Once again, this is just the hangout part of the stream, so. What the 2 pillars represent? Well, they are from, I think you're talking about the 2 pillars as relates to King Solomon's Temple, which you find in, I can't remember what part now. Obviously, it's a biblical reference as well as historical or legendary reference, apocryphal reference. I mean, they represent different things. I generally like to think that they represent the idea and the value of stability in life, right? That is what every pillar represents. Or support is another way to put it, right? You could argue they represent kind of support, I think is valuable as well. Either way works. But the beautiful thing about Freemasonry is so often it's up to us as individuals to find out what they mean to us, right? Nobody's necessarily going to tell you what Freemasonry should mean. You have to just add the symbols therein. You have to determine it for yourself. Some say the most important direction of Freemasonry is east. I would say the most important I would say the most important direction of Freemasonry is inward, to what you think. Yeah, those are the ones. You'll find them they're referenced in a bunch of different sources, but obviously, and also it's interesting, I've heard them used in like a lot of different discussions. Like I've heard people use the word Boaz's gift, right? You'll receive a Boaz, meaning you'll receive a gift. I've heard that a few times. Which is interesting. But the beautiful thing about Freemasonry is you decide what it means to yourself. That is something I've actually encouraged Masons to consider in the past. Like when they'll be talking about parts of Masonic ritual, I'll always ask them, what does that actually mean to you? Right? Not just what the words are, but what do the words themselves mean to you, I think is really cool and worth asking, brethren. You're also more likely to remember things if you actually ask people to describe what it means to themselves. Well, Masons are given their Masonic ritual to complete. Now, the ritual is different depending on where you're located. So it's not the same, right? In Texas to Tennessee to Louisiana to Ontario. Honestly, that's the beautiful thing about it, by far and away. But, you're in Freemasonry encouraged to make a daily advancement in Masonic knowledge, but it's up to you to put in the work to make that knowledge. So, I always encourage Masons to spend more time researching stuff on their own and then bringing it back to the lodge and explaining what it is that they meant and or why they explored it, what they explored, what it means to them. I think that's a really cool thing. Um, so I guess the short answer is Masons are encouraged to learn about the history of Freemasonry on their own, but they're also encouraged to bring that knowledge back to the lodge and to use that knowledge to enrich their Masonic experience. Well, I mean, I'm sure that's true as well. You got to be careful. You don't always necessarily know what you think you do, right? A little bit of confidence in what you know is good. Too much can be dangerous. That's true for life, though, in fairness. But keep in mind, knowledge about Freemasonry is not. Freemasonry ultimately is an experiential thing, right? That's something you really need to keep in mind. You can have all the knowledge you want in terms of reading about Freemasonry in books until you've actually sat through a lodge meeting, until you've actually sat through 20 years of lodge meetings, you realize how little you actually know. How little you actually know. I've used this example before. It's no different than riding a bicycle. You can read every book about riding bikes. You can read the entire history of what it means to ride bicycles. You can read and know the name of every different type of bicycle and bicycle company and et cetera, et cetera. If you've never actually, if you've never actually taken the time to ride the bicycle, you just read about it, you're missing out on a major component of what it is and what bicycling is. So, well, I don't know if I'd call this Nimrod's lackeys. I don't even know if Nimrod was a real figure or more likely apocryphal or theological. Having said that, um, some argue Nimrod was the first stonemason. I personally don't think that was the case, but I think even Mackey might have said he was the. I think it was Mackey who said Freemasonry or Nimrod was the father of Freemasonry or the father of Masonry, excuse me. But he built the Tower of Babel out of mud and clay bricks, not stone. So keep that in mind. Yeah, but some have said Noah, right? Like Mackey calls Freemasons Noahide, as in the sons of Noah. But technically, everybody would be the sons of Noah. So, well, Nimrod built the Tower of Babel at Gilgamesh, right? I'm not sure they did or not for sure. I suspect Nimrod was probably not a real figure, but I mean, maybe. I mean, probably not because I'm 42 and I know Masons who are younger than me, but we're getting to a point where Freemasonry does not make some really serious changes. We are going to, it's going to get pretty low pretty quick. So we're still working on it. Um, but I definitely would be very sad if I was the last Freemason. Or I'd be very sad if, I came to a point where I saw Freemasonry cease to exist. Because I think ultimately that would make the world a worse place. Um, is it possible? I guess. Nothing lasts forever, but I'd like to think we'll be around for a while. Well, I don't believe in giants. I know the term Nephilim, but I don't believe in giants. There's big people, but there's no literal giants. I mean, the question is, consider yourself, would you be sad if Freemasonry ceased to exist? Or what would your feelings be like if that were the case? So I'm not Christian, Chris. So I don't believe in, at least I don't believe literally the Bible. So I don't believe that there was a flood that, but this is my personal opinion, not a Masonic opinion, that the earth was completely flooded. My suspicion is there was a region of the earth that experienced a massive flood, and that story was expanded upon and, told over and over again until it got to a point that people were explaining it and stating it as though the entire world flooded. But I don't think the entire earth ever flooded. Hello, Char. Welcome back. Um, well, I mean, again, what I understand from the biblical perspective, if you're Christian, you believe that the earth was flooded because humans have become so wicked, they had to kind of restart, I think. But, I mean, that would be again, I think, look, if you want to argue metaphorically, I'm happy to have that argument about, the flood representing the need for a reset sometimes, the need to follow the natural order, the need to follow the divine. I think if you want to talk about that from metaphorical perspective, but if you want to ask me literally about it, from a religious perspective, this is a Masonic channel. This is not the best place for that. I'm sure there are many religious scholars who could help you learn more about kind of the flood and what it means in a religious or Christian context. Um, well, if the footage is hard to find because they took it down, maybe that's because it wasn't legitimate. It's always possible, right? Not saying that for sure or not for sure, just saying it's possible. Who is Bubba? Got my coffee crisp? Well, I mean, sorry, Char, you cannot. You are totes on your own. But you can hit like and subscribe. Freemasons are like vegetarians in that we don't want no beef with nobody. So we are not having any war with the Freemasons and the Free Blacksmiths or with any group or organization. Honestly, Freemasonry, we are in some ways at war right now, but we're at war with we're at war with the television and Netflix and how comfortable the couch is and how busy people are after work with after school activities for their kids and how economically concerning people are at the moment or how economically um, you know how economically insecure people feel, which makes them less inclined for community events or civic engagement because they're so focused on work and they're so focused on making sure they have enough money to live. They're not thinking about things that don't make them money. To how tired people feel, to the plethora of entertainment options, kind of civic institutions in general are really struggling with day to day life and how best to compete. In the 1920s, it was just a different time. And getting people to join civic groups was, for better or worse, a lot easier than it is now. But I hope over time that changes. I mean, it's not just us. Almost every civic group is engaged with the quote unquote television wars somehow. Um, I mean, I would hope that there's no floods of any sort. Keep in mind, Freemason refers to a civic group or a speculative group. Builders, literally speaking, builders would be operative Masons. But I mean, if there ever is a disaster, by definition, yeah, it's the Masons who will come and rebuild because that's what they do. They're builders. I'm sure if you want. I've never heard it described that way before, but sure, earthly clamors or worldly clamors. That's a one way to put it. Not just Freemasons, though. I mean, church attendance, the Elks, the Moose, you know, all of those people are struggling with earthly or worldly clamors. It's the false knowledge before the flood. Not sure what that means. I mean, I guess what I would hope is it doesn't have to be a flood per se. Just my hope is that we within Freemasonry can help ensure that the world is made, is strong and is able to survive catastrophes. Because as challenging as the world is, and believe me, it's challenging, there's a lot of things worth saving within it. Well, I don't want there to be a reset of any sort, put it that way. Now, I suppose we don't get a say in some of these things. If you're Christian, then you believe there'll be another reset. I don't know what people believe. I just want society to, I hope that through Freemasonry, I can find a way to create or maintain a strong community and strong civic life and help those around me. It's not always easy, it's not always possible, but you try your best. Don't forget, you guys can do a super chat, you can do gifts, you can hit like, you can hit subscribe. Any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Well, I don't want there to be any end times. But I guess we'll see. Again, I think we're delving into more theological discussion points, which believe me, I am the worst person to try to answer those questions. That's the type of thing to talk to your priest or your rabbi or imam about. Well, I mean, I will say when it comes to seeds, to take it a little bit more literally, one thing I thought was really cool at the Accessibility Expo and Fair is they talked a little bit about accessible gardening or gardening programs for people with mobility impairments and types of tools that you can use. And one thing, I gotta find it now, I got a whole pile of stuff here that they gave out, which I thought was really cool, was, and I've been talking about wanting to try and start gardening or growing some plants a little bit. And so I will find it, just give me a second. These tomato seeds from AOP1. That was kind of cool. And then I also got, now I got to see if I can find them here. And I don't know where they went. Oh, here they are. Stuff's falling. So these are some type of like seed packets. Surf, you're typing in the chat right now. Welcome. Basically, I tear the seeded paper and spread it under 1/8 inch of loose, well-drained soil. Keep the soil moist until the seedlings are well established. Germination time is 1 to 4 weeks. So maybe I'll try planting these and see what happens. I think I might even have some spare soil, if I recall correctly, or do I? No, I think I just have spare seeds. Oops. I've got lawn seed and I don't know what this stuff is. Well, I'll see. I'll figure it out. Point is, Maybe I'll try planting some stuff. It also got me thinking about we as Freemasons should spend more time outside, holding more events outside, more celebrations outside, more meetings outside, more camping trips. Could be really fun. 1886, 2026. I don't believe in Tartaria. I don't know what the statue. I mean, the Statue of Liberty was designed by a Freemason, famously a French Freemason. I didn't even have to buy them. They were giving them out for free. So I'm gonna plant them, and I'll try to share with you guys how they're going and how they're growing. If I'm having any success growing them, um, it was kind of cool. So I was just thinking how sometimes in life there's a lot of really interesting coincidences, right? I've been talking about wanting to grow things forever, and we get I go to a place where they're handing out all sorts of seeds. So that was kind of cool. I mean, sure. Well, I mean, you can always send me pictures, Jeremy. Again, follow me on Instagram, square underscore and underscore compass underscore promotions, and you can do things that way. Um, no tomato seeds, and I don't know what's going to grow with these. They don't say. They just say rip up this paper, plant it in some soil, and see what sprouts. I will check that out for sure, Jeremy. Maybe these are flower seeds. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. If you guys want to help me buy if you guys want to help me buy the soil to plant the seeds, then by all means, do a super chat. Just a couple bucks helps out big time, and would be much obliged. Twitter, um, X, Blue Sky, email. Although my email's been not working great lately. In fairness, I'm trying to figure out how to fix it. So, what's your favorite type of food to grow? Um, Chris. I do have a phone. Maybe what I'll do is, but I can't really do email. I mean, I guess we could do like, well, Facebook. Do you have Facebook? I mean, try another email. That might work. We'll see what happens. The fun of the super fun of um, internet and social media and all the rest of it, right? It's always such a pain when you find these things struggling. I have Discord, Chris. Actually, I do have Discord. Hold on just one second. I'm trying to get more people involved in some of these things, including my Discord. So much of my focus is on YouTube, and I'm grateful for YouTube and everything it's offered, but I do, I am trying my best to focus on this, but also get people involved in other channels of mine. So let's see. Well, thank you, Yander. Please hit like and subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Oh, that stuff drives me crazy. Let's see. Hold on just one second. Now, I always forget. I'm the worst at this. Oh, hold on just one second. All right. So who is it? Chris? I just put in my Discord invite. Let me know if you can see it or not. Um, oops, I'll put it in one more time. At least I'll try to. Well, if you can copy and paste that or figure out how to make it work and join me, I'd very, very much appreciate it. Again, I don't do a ton of stuff on Discord, in fairness. I do very little, but I'm trying to be a bit more updated with all of my different sites, all of my different platforms. So check it out if you can. My written work on Medium as well. By all means, the more people, you know, it's part of this thing within Freemasonry. I'm always trying my best is to, as much as possible, make sure that I am, give myself better focus there, make sure that I am involved in different things, different platforms, engaged with different platforms, connected with different platforms. I think Freemasonry as well, there's a good rule of thumb for that. It's one of those things where you want to be able to find Freemasonry on a variety of different areas, platforms, and things. YouTube, yes, but other platforms as well, I think is equally as important. It sometimes gets overlooked. So there you go. Yeah, by all means, GUI. Keep in mind, I don't post a lot on Discord, and if you're posting too much on my Discord, you might get banned. Just be careful what you post, as always. Um, Thank you, Chris. Send me a message. We'll become friends, and then yeah, I'll check out your. And same thing to anybody else who wants to join. We can become friends on Discord as well. I'd be much obliged. It's great to see a lot of my stuff growing outside of YouTube. Vermiculite and absent salt. I think I've heard of vermiculite before, but what's absent salt? That doesn't. I don't know what. I'm not sure I've heard of that before. Gooey with the joke. All right, that was pretty funny. I will say this, that was pretty humorous. Epsom salt. Sorry. Okay, I thought it was some type of, maybe I thought when you said absent salt, it was some type of like salt that dissolved in the soil. So eventually like became absent somehow. I was trying to figure out what that meant. Epsom salt. Okay. Is that true for anything you plant, or are there some things you plant that you don't need that for? We're going to keep hanging out. Wait to see you join us. A few more minutes. I'm going to be trying to do some longer streams. I was thinking of actually doing a 5 by 5 by 5 thing lately, which means like 5 hours here, 5 hours on my other YouTube account, and 5 hours on another platform, then back, then back, then back, just to see if we can kind of grow the channel a little bit, or grow the channels. I think might be kind of fun. Just trying different things. As always, I think it's important to try different things. That should be a lesson for Freemasons as well. We're going to give it another couple minutes. Just wait to see if anyone else jumps on to say hello. Then we'll be ending this stream, but I'll be back on tonight at 1 a.m. And let's see, do I have some more people on the Discord? Oh. All right. Oh, geez. I had to. Okay. I'm just proving I'm human at the moment. It always seems funny to me to have to prove I'm human, um, to other robots. Talk to you soon, Jeremy. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it as always. All right, let's give it another couple minutes. Let's wait to see if anyone else jumps on. Then we'll be ending this stream. Be back on tonight. Well, it's there's two, but try this one. See if it works. info@squareandcompass.ca. Or you can go to sorry. If you go to squareandcompass.ca and then you type in contact, or you go to the contact page, you should find it there as well. So check that out. All right. I think try the contact stuff first, see if either of those work. And at least we'll have our emails and we can go back and forth. I'd love to see some pictures of your garden. I think that'd be really, really cool. And it'd be really fun. All right, let's end this stream, but I will be back on tonight at 1 a.m. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me as always. I'll talk to you all soon, and I hope you got some good ideas potentially about how to help make our buildings, our experience more accessible and adapt to those of different abilities. All right, guys, talk to you all soon. Thank you for the support as always.